Hi Floyd. Just came across a very serious issue that you raised on your Facebook page about you meeting.
Once in a while I do stuff like that.
I think once in a while you do many other things. But yes, this was a little serious in terms of you posted that you met a musician. He's now out of work and now he's driving auto rickshaws in Bombay. And you asked for his details, but he just wanted to he shied away and didn't want to share any details about his life.
That's the way it is, yeah.
So, and you sounded obviously very upset, and there are many people who typically liked the posts, but or just said it's sad.
That's all right.
But
that's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, you put up a post or whatever it is for awareness.
Correct.
So I mean, it's not. There are people who put it up for likes or whatever, but it's just it's an impactful thing. It's a truth.
Correct. These is what we want our viewers, whether they are children or their parents who are thinking of sending their children in this field, or maybe who are musicians also of today, who might not be doing as well as they thought they were doing earlier, or things like that. If you could, with your experience and
yeah, actually, it sometimes makes more sense to ask a person from the outside, which is I'm on the outside actually.
No, but you were a part of this industry.
I mean, I'm completely part of the industry in some way or the other, but I've never made like a living doing this, right? So I can just observe from what people do and stuff like that. So, and all my friends, I mean, a lot of them play and do stuff in the studios. Like any other profession, okay, there's a lot of chance. Eventually you could get into a band that's I don't know about any existing pop or rock band in India that's completely self-sufficient just doing gigs.
How do they survive? Or
in terms of they don't
monies?
No, they don't, because it's always like mom and dad are there as a support in India. It's always a mom and dad space. I've said this again, yeah, and that support structure is active. You would find band members eventually supplementing their income doing other things. Some have a profession, some will be in advertising, some may work in a television channel or whatever. Which brings you back to the fact that if you want to make a living doing purely music, it's not easy. Otherwise, you wouldn't have these fallback options coming into play at all. So since you know that that's reality, if you see a successful band, if you take like a successful band, means successful in terms of being popular, then you take a good look at the people who are in those bands, and most of them have jobs. They're either teaching music, okay, they'll work in there are quite a few music schools in Bombay now, and they will teach people music and earn a living doing that. But just doing a gig in a pub is like $4,000 and $5,000 a person. So unless you're in that Takadhimi circuit or the fusion circuit or Bollywood circuit, you don't make any big money. Face it, man. It's bullshit if anybody tells you like you're going to make money doing that. So if you're going to be secure doing something else, while you pursue the music you like or the music you love, right? You're not going to wait, the full year to play an NH7 big stage, for example. That's not going to pay your bills for the year, right? It's an exposure. It's a great big stage for exposure.
But that will give you smaller gigs and...
Probably. Because we have a limit on the number of venues, and we look at it like from a feasibility point of view. You do just a feasibility study and you'll find that it's not easy to amalgamate all the venues and make sure that suppose you hop from one venue to the other. You will complete this loop in a very short time because there are very few venues. Now, when you come back to venue number 1, they won't program you because you've just played pretty much like a month or two before. And that obviously will mean a break in that cycle. And you will have a couple of strings of gigs which are successful. And then that will stop. There's a corporate circuit which basically is a monkey circuit. It doesn't matter whether you played or your goldfish played. It's the same result. So that's a job. So that's not playing your music. That's a job. That's a job playing music. That's different, right? So you can do that and survive. But if there are lots of kids who write into me and say, sir, we want to give up our engineering studies in the final year
Hmm.
because I want to be a full-time guitar player. I said, man, you don't even know what you're talking about. It's like, I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no such thing as a full-time. See, I know people who come to me, they've come and studied, just come and done a couple of classes with me and stuff, playing guitar. And suddenly, if you ask them, bro, so where are you now? Oh, you haven't come for a while? I'm in Dubai. I'm in Hong Kong. They're playing gigs. And I know what they can play. And they're playing gigs, doing that. So, the market is full of these kind of people as well. So, it's very difficult for somebody coming from the outside to break into a circuit. Because it's full of pantomime artists. Right? It's full of pantomime. There's some bullshitters. And it's all over the place. This is full of bullshit. So, at the same time, there are so many talented rock bands. I reiterate. Talented metal bands and very talented rock bands and very talented whatever. How do the kids actually cut living costs? How do they just cut living? How do they just make it just playing these gigs? It's impossible. It's a common logical thread. You analyze the number of venues, the payback, and the probability of being called back again to have a sustainable career doing that. Because you're going to be playing in India. So if you're going to play in India, which is our country, okay, so how many gigs can we get? And how can that sustain a livelihood for long? I don't know, I find that kind of difficult to understand, man.
Right. You spoke of, in that post, coming back to it.
Yeah, there were a couple of guys I'm a studio technician. I've been so for more than 20 years, 23, 24 years, right, doing this. And I've seen guys, I've seen them could be in any of the big studios which used to have orchestra pits with people playing background music and a lot of violin players and stuff like that. So a lot of disillusioned older people, right? Because they don't get called again anymore. And these are reading and writing musicians who actually know how to read and write music. There's no need for that now. There's no, I also wrote, one of the guys even mentioned that there's no need for them because a lot of the gigs now are -1.
Right.
And they're not, they're older people. Why would you have an older guy on stage with a pant and shirt, bush shirt and shirt with a pen in the pocket? Fucking doesn't look good, right? So what do you do with people like that? Are they cast away? They're cast away. So a lot of people like that are driving auto rickshaw, doing that job, right? Or some could be, doing a sales job in some shop. I'm just giving you examples of what will happen to you eventually.
Do you think this is what will happen to you in today's generation, which is technologically advanced?
Sad. It's sad for me to say wait and watch. How long will you, kind of lick ass, to get a gig? Maybe the quality of ass that you're licking will change. Maybe they don't want you anymore. Then what are you going to do? What are you going to lick? How long will you do this fake shit? What happens to children who are talented? And so many of them are so talented. It will paint an absolutely wrong picture to give them, to make a comment and say listen boss, there's a fantastic industry and everybody is making lots of money and we're there's Latin dancers all around us and every day is a great day. Balls here, fuck off. You go to a pub, you fucking play the gig, you roll your cables, you come back, there may be 3 people in the audience. Do they tell you that part of it? Everybody tells you about how great it was and how mind-blowing our gig was and all that bullshit. I've been to corporate places where people walk out when the band comes on. So why don't people just tell you the fucking truth?
Because they maybe don't want to accept it as reality?
No, it's so that they can just project their own false success story. You know what the bad thing in this is? The bad thing is this, is that a lot of children watch supremely successful commercial acts and think that they can emulate that. There's no space for that shit. There are great musicians who want to maybe set up a small band doing this kind of commercial music, and even they are finding it difficult to actually get doors slam shut.
If you're speaking of this, for the example of, older musicians becoming auto drivers and all, we still have older musicians who switch to technology also.
But not everybody is capable of that. What does a violin player do?
So, agreed. So, I'm saying even when typewriters were replaced by Microsoft Word, you had these typists and all who lost their jobs, who were in companies and corporates and stuff.
So you're the question was very simple. You said, what will happen to the younger generation?
Agreed. But
I'll tell you what will happen to the younger generation. The younger generation is already being substituted by electronic substitutes. There's already a fucking DJ, right? He's already in the market with his pen drive. What more?
No, but even today's
programming is different. You're sitting in a studio programming for a job, right?
Correct.
Everybody can pursue that path.
Yeah.
How many are actually going to crack a deal to actually get the finance rolling in? How many actually crack? How long do the young guys just do scratch and eventually do Bhojpuri fillers and stuff like that, and then get into some TV small thing just to pay the bill in the studio? This is reality. I'm a studio technician. I've seen many studios shut. I've seen bullshitters also. Like they're taking great photographs of themselves and they fucking don't even have $100, man. Come on. So there has to be someone, I mean, a commoner like me telling you the true story, na? I'm also a technician, na? I'm gasawing my hands only.
Correct. So in a way, aren't you painting a very, I wouldn't say dangerous, but a sad picture of the whole situation?
It's reality, boss. I'm not painting a no picture. Picture's already painted, not by me, by whoever.
You're just showing the mirror.
I'm telling you, if you're talented and you have the ability to do music or the financial resources to study music, please do it, right? But be aware that your returns may not, your returns may not justify or meet your expectations.
So if you have deep pockets, only then enter this.
No, if you have deep pockets, you can study music, because anyways, to study music is expensive. If you want to study music well, it's expensive.
World over.
Let's face it.
World
okay?
over.
And then don't look at the classical music. The musician's response is, you don't look at any commercial success, right? Music is success in itself. That's not going to feed a family. That's okay in an advanced country or in a first world scenario. In ours, boss, the gigs are in pathetic locations, and what happens is with media, places like social networks like Facebook and stuff like that, people paint all pretty pictures.
Okay.
The ones who are even the ones who are people would think are big time, they're treated like shit by the client sometimes.
But that's not all hearsay.
That's reality. No, it's not hearsay. I've seen shit happen. Okay, eventually, it's like, hey boss, chal, udhar side mein band ke liye udhar samosa rakha hai, vencho udhar wo kha le.
But if he's a Bollywood singer, he will be kind of garlanded.
No, that's okay. I'm not making the distinction of that. I'm talking about, the rock bands, when they take into colleges and stuff, they're treated well. Because the kids look up to that stuff, right? But eventually, even that's fading away. Right? So, it'll be, see, what I'm trying to say is, okay, in a nutshell, there are a limited amount of outlets to generate money. One is, you become a studio rat and you sit there and you score for film and you do any shit and you take any amount of bullshit from crap people.
But which you might be happy with it.
I'm not talking. You be happy, do whatever you have to do. What I'm trying to say is these are avenues.
Right.
So you can earn your money doing that. You have to have a different mindset to work in a studio. Next, you can join the other Gemini circus which is around with all these guys painting their faces and fucking dancing and doing the shit. You can do that also, right? I'm talking about what happens to the great super metal bands or super rock bands or super inventive alternative rock bands or blues band or what blues band? Fuck that shit. Anyway, so you know what I'm saying. The more esoteric you get, the less the probability of a livelihood.
So ideally, be aware of these facts and only then
be aware. See, because, at the end of the day, you could be extremely happy, You're living in hey man, I'm in Bombay, but you don't know. The fucker's living in some fishing village in fucking Yari Road. Opens up windows and that smell of that mandeli and all that dried fish. See, that is never portrayed. I'm in Bombay. I'm doing well. I'm doing sessions, Every time you'll see these fuckers coming into our city, and you'll see them taking photographs with all important people. You know for sure this guy has come into that ass-licking category. And immediately you'll come to see that, oh shit, this guy's playing this gig and this corporate gig. And this is how it works. So if you're ready to do that shit, go ahead and do it. Don't tell me about the music. If you're going to say this was music that you believed in and you did, balls, you're not doing it anymore. Because if you're doing it, you're not making enough money. So that's the catch-22.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So for musicians of today, okay, who are already in this industry doing whatever they're doing, like this violin player was playing violin for films with
Of
R.D.
course.
Burman,
Then-
Lakshmikant Pyarelal, etc. Today there are musicians who are working for today's R.D. Burmans of the world.
Yeah.
What do you see their future as if
They
they
carry
don't
hard
want to
disks.
go-
ना they'll carry hard disks from one student. अरे ये ले सर जरा बैकअप करने का है यार मेरा 4 स्टेप मिक्स डाउन करने का है.
So how not to get
Fuck
into
is
that
that?
trap?
How not to get into that trap is to be aware, and eventually see even if you're doing corporate gigs, you can be a cultured person and do corporate gigs. I'm not saying all people doing corporate gigs are chutias, but there are infinite number of chutias in that corporate circuit. I'm saying if you get your musical aptitude together and you focus it and you come out with a good product, I'm sure people will love it. You go with that philosophy, and then there's hard work and networking and stuff like that.
Which is as
It can be
in a
done.
way.
It can be done, but be aware that it's not easy. It doesn't happen overnight, and it can be a little trying. It can be frying and trying, both.
Right. We get a lot of mails by concerned parents and some guys like engineers
So
who say,
many engineers,
I would
yeah.
leave my job also and become
Are
a
finally
musician."
you're engineering? I boss, I want to give up engineering. I want to become. Chutiya hai kya tu? Can't fucking play also, and can't study also. 80 KT ka bench, they have like some fucking 7 years bloody allowed to keep terms. That is happening, and on top of that, what makes you think being a dodo in one space, you'll be a Van Halen in the other?
Because everybody
Probability
thinks
is
they're
very
Bill
low.
Gates
No.
of the world.
Figure out the law of probability. It's very low.
So, are you asking such viewers or such people, are you discouraging them from entering this space?
No, not at all. No discouragement. You have to know the pros and cons.
Correct.
You can't be looking at some guy just dancing on stage and thinking that's what
I
your
would
life
live
is
such
going
a
to be.
life. I would live such a life
It's
kind
going to
of
be
thing.
like chicks and partying and like great food, and every day they'll be traveling, going to Hawaii. Fuck that. Okay. It can happen. In the off chance, it could happen. More power to you if that happens. But don't tell me it's going to happen to everyone. And since tons of people write, it's better to give them a global and a universal picture rather than paint some fucking bullshit myth, which is not true. Like you'll see these guys, suddenly posting, oh man, that gig was mind-blowing. It was a huge stage and a huge turnout, and they'll take photographs and selfies with some 1 billion people. But what the fuck do you do for 364 days of the year after that gig is over? What are you doing? You're still hustling to pay rent, no? So who the fuck are you kidding around with? I mean, who are you fooling around with? It's so funny. I see these guys with like mega photographs and all that, and then they, bro, it's difficult. Yeah, I can't afford like strings and all. Like I can't. So where is that coming from then? On one hand, there's like implied poverty. On one hand, you're taking photographs with some big fucking huge thing. It's a myth. They're creating scenarios that's in their mind, and they hope that works in the future to take them ahead. They don't have any solid grounding with education. They don't have fuck all. And if that's the information you're going to give a child who's just probably a bright kid or whatever, is on the cusp of deciding left or right, say, go with your education. Always keep your education intact. Over and above, you will always have a fallback option. You see?
Instead of leaving school at
You
in
shouldn't
the
be
10th,
destitute.
11th, 12th.
You shouldn't become destitute or become a gardener in your parents' house at the age of 45. Okay, mommy, I'll just go and take the dog out for a walk, mommy. So many guys are doing that only. 45, they're sitting at home, fucking mommy is cooking. What do? They're at home. And in everybody else's eyes, they're mind-blowing. Oh, what a guy, mind-blowing. So, be aware of this. It's fraught with a lot of left and right turns. Make sure that you know both sides so you can make a educated choice. Na? You can't murder yourself with your eyes open. You're a moron if you do that. So I try to tell kids also, I mean, your parents are spending on their education. Right? You are not an exceptionally gifted person. I'm telling you also straight. Because if you are exceptionally gifted, why the fuck you ask me? Or anybody? Because your gift would be available to everybody to see. In which case, you wouldn't be in a position where you're worrying about left and right turns. Prodigies, no. They have to go straight. Boom. No left, no right. Straight.
They'll make their own path kind of thing.
So evidently, since you're in that quandary and you're making a decision and you're asking an opinion,
And
you
that's
don't
what
know.
they keep
You
asking
ask when
now.
you don't know
Yeah.
or you're not sure. So that's
Because
what
they're
it
not
is.
aware of all these. You and I have seen studios, been living
Boss.
in studios kind of a thing.
Arey yaar, I've seen loaded people on their fucking knees. Stuff is being sold, insurance being collected. Ah, fuck, it's a mess. Don't talk about that. That era of studios and big studios is kind of getting
It's
over
gone.
now.
Yes.
It's very apparent. Like, I mean, you as a person who's been involved with the commercial aspect has seen how sales have dipped from one space and redistributed into small home setups. That's what's happening.
Correct.
So there's a movement. Similarly, there can be a movement with the musicians also. They have to generate avenues of their own rather than being followers of a herd. Hey, he's playing a wedding, even I'll play a wedding. He's playing a funeral, even I will play 2 funerals. What the fuck is that? These are not viable options. People are going to get married and people are going to die. You'll get to play these kind of gigs.
Correct.
Where will you play your own music? For that, you have to generate a listening audience and stuff, which I've spoken about.
Yes, yeah.
And very few people are listening to music or anything, any sense.
Great. Thanks for giving the reality behind the scenes to
Yeah,
a
man.
lot
What
of
else
people.
what else can people like us do, man?
Because especially people from smaller towns.
I don't want to see a kid
They
like
sell
tomorrow.
their land and come here and then struggle and stuff.
Like worse shit, like, man. I mean, I don't want to be that guy like later on whom a person asked and I gave them like, no bro, move to Bombay. It's mind blowing. There's a lot of chicks and you can get laid every day and it's a mind blowing place and everything. And he comes here and he's bloody staying in YRF Road in that fishing colony. What the fuck? It's like, come down, nah, bro. No?
Great.
I mean, I stay in YRF Road. It's not so bad, but there are sections which are pretty bad. And there are guys who stay there. I mean, there are people who stay in weird pockets of Bombay, like, Mira Road and stuff like that. And just cutting rent, just about making rent. And painting a massively rosy picture on social networks. Creating this quandary for younger kids who are looking at that and saying, fuck, it's so easy. They come here and find out like they have to hire like a tanker to flush their toilet. Which is deeper than what I just said.
Yes.
They need that more than the tanker to just so that they can get by, they have to do anything. And that I don't want to see kids do, man. Because they are superbly gifted bands and stuff like that.
But there's
Eventually
no
they'll end up doing smattering of... Now the new word is festivals. I played at a festival. Okay, play. See how long that festival lasts, boss. It's a carnival. Actually, paying your bills is actually a big festival.
Correct.
Try to figure out how you're going to deal with that festival. So NH7 and all, for me it's a road. NH7 is a highway, correct?
Yeah.
It stops at a couple of places. After those stops, what are you going to do? घर में कौन चलाएगा फिर? Rent वेंट कौन देगा? Mummy. So that is what. I wish everybody the best, but they must know how to make qualitative and good decisions. And I think that, the kids of today are aware and they're bright and all that, but they're also easily swayed by this crap. So it's necessary that an older person tells them. No? Some older kid guy like saying, अच्छा वो थोड़ा घस के काम किया है तो उसको थोड़ा मालूम रहेगा. That's what I'm telling you. Correct, na?
Great.
Done, man.
Thanks. Bye.